Recording in progress.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Zoom Rock Room, the third Tuesday of July. Wow, third Tuesday of July. Sound like September's coming really quick. And I had a thought the other day. If you go to the bank and get a loan, it will take you 30 years to pay it back. But if you go to the bank and rob it, you'll be out in 10 years. So, however, however you want to use that. I was at a bookstore the other day and saw a book about it was called How to Solve 50% of Your Trouble. So I bought two. Anyway, enough of that, right? Okay, we'll get moving on here to our intro, and again, welcome. If you're just coming in, so as always, our traditional. Someday I'll change this, but Zoom Rock Room is always made possible by their architect in Lake Havasu. If you're not muted, just please mute yourself. And since I don't have a assistant at this point yet, so anyway, I know some of you have emailed them and thanked them for their participation at lairarchitecture at yahoo.com. And again, we thank Paul and Marcella for believing in what we're doing is a positive thing. So, of course, the Institute in Waynesboro is up and running full gear for their summer programming and several programs that are ongoing that you may be interested in. The Summer Institute Explorer going for a few more weeks yet, and the Popular Soar Birdwatching Group on the first and third Saturdays are out there having fun, spotting all kind of birds. But you can check their website out, uh, or actually, go send them an email at info@natureandcultureinstitute.org, and they would love to hear from you too, because I know they keep tabs on what we're doing. And of course, our buddy Andrew that we were just talking with uh, has found his second home in Herkimer County, New York, and he will have more reports coming our way as soon as he can get back to his real job. But check out Dirt Man and on YouTube. Crystal Cove Collective up in Camp Hill. Michael and Krista. They have actually now opened their whole building, and I did get an email from them that they are now open Tuesday through Sunday. So they have expanded hours. So they obviously are growing and being very successful. Lots of cool specimens in gemstones, minerals, fossils, and there's also other vendors in their shop who are selling their crafts. So it must be a pretty nice shop. If you're in the New York area, go out to Morning Sun Market in Thomasville, west of York, and visit them at Morning Sun Flea Market Saturdays and Sundays. They have a stand in there with minerals and fossils and the like. All right. Well, I don't know how many of you all tuned into the unveiling of the new pictures last week for the James Webb Telescope, but it is certainly um, the professional astronomers and cosmologists are saying that what they're seeing is above their expectations. So, for example, these are a couple of the first uh, photos that did come back last Tuesday, or actually were released on Tuesday to the public. The Carina Nebula, which is 7,500 light years away from Earth. This is only a very, very small part of the entire nebula. In fact, it has its own little number, infrared light, So they're getting the pictures like this that they have never seen like this before. And to give you some kind of scale, this little mount right here um, on the left side, that is 7 light years tall. So light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, about 7 trillion miles. So that's about 49 trillion miles tall, to give you a scale. But it's going to be a wow for these astronomers to really figure out what the James Webb Telescope has shown them. They even practiced on one of our own, Jupiter, and its moon Europa over here. Again, this is using different filters. So actually the great red spot, which is right here, it doesn't, of course, doesn't look red in this picture because of the light used in this particular filter. But again, it's showing a lot of the atmospheric structure. You're not looking at the surface of Jupiter. This is the atmosphere, which is pretty much frozen. So Webb is proving that it can even look at our own solar system. Now this is really cool. This is actually a quote that comes with the picture. You can read for yourself, putting it all in perspective. And from what I understand, in this picture, of course, you see loads and loads of galaxies. The redder the object is, the further away it is from us. So when you see the reds, like the upper center, and up here toward the top right corner area, orange, those objects, galaxies, are much further away than the brighter things. And again, the scale of this picture, they're using the ideology of, if you hold a sand grain in your hand and hold it arm's length away from you, the diameter of that sand grain in the sky is the size of this photo. But the resolution is just fabulous, and like I said, it's going to take years and years to decipher all the information. The Stevens Quintet, this is the 5 galaxies that are together 290 million light years away, and there's a lot of interaction going on here. This is actually the best picture ever taken of the Stevens Quintet. Again, using the different filters and infrared. So, there is interaction taking place between these galaxies. Some of the other pictures that I don't have time to show certainly are showing some very cool interaction from one galaxy to another. And in fact, I was also reading that there's that the curvature of light is being seen on some of these very distant objects, where the light is actually has been bent, coming through space for 13 billion years, by the way, 13 billion years, and the Webb is finding these things, and the light is being bent, which is kind of mind-boggling. So the furthest out object it has seen to date is 13.8 billion years out there. So again, it's going to rewrite astronomy books and probably give a lot of different views of the space. So maybe we'll have a program for our astronomy buddies and for you all there. So coming up, speaking of astronomy, our Jones Geological Services, August 5th, and we will repeat it on August 19th at Cador State Park. It will be astronomy night. Hopefully the weather cooperates. You people that dabble in astronomy, and I know there's a few of you in here tonight, know that when we have something scheduled, Mr. Weatherman doesn't cooperate a lot of times. But August 5th and the 19th, August 19th, we will have like a quarter moon showing up, so that'll be one object that will be featured. We're going to have 2, 3, maybe more telescopes on the hill at the sailboat launch and at the Smith Station Road boat launch. And August the 6th is a Saturday, over to Lancaster County, south of Bainbridge and Locust Grove at the Haldeman Mansion. I'll be doing my annual geology walk around the very small property. We'll have stops along the way, talking about who Mr. Haldeman was, how he was important to geology. We are going to have a game this year where you're going to have a chance to identify rocks and minerals and win some prizes. Zoom Rock Room schedule. This may change for August 2nd, but planning for the South Mountain and Frederick Valley program that I actually had scheduled back in May, and we had to push that away because of a program that was coming in. But we have some good things going on here. We, thanks to a Zoom Room member, alerted me that President Herbert Hoover was a mining engineer, which I did not know that. So I contacted the Herbert Hoover Library and about if somebody could do a program, and they passed me over to a lady, Elizabeth, who's actually the director of the Mining Museum and Hall of Fame in Colorado. And I just talked to her again today, and she's hashing over some dates because a friend of hers is also on another date going to do mining history of Leadville, Colorado. Sounds like one's going to be in August, one's going to be in September, and then Paul Fagley has volunteered to do a charcoal making program for furnaces, and Steve Lindbergh is going to talk about his summer trip, one of his summer trips, where he saw a lot of cool stuff up north. So anyway, we have some things planned. Just got to get the dates lined up here, fall in place here, hopefully pretty soon. And you may have seen in the email from the invite. So we're going to try again September 18th. Go to Greenwood Furnace State Park. We will have lunch at 1 o'clock, so you can arrive anytime before 1. I got to get there to make the hot dogs and burgers, and everybody brings a covered dish and your drink, whatever you want to drink. So we'll be giving some more details about which pavilion we'll be in and what to bring or not to bring. But if you do want to go, again, please email me and let me know that you can be there. So with that in mind, that's our introduction tonight. I do want to thank the ones from the Zoom Rock Room show up on Saturday at New Ringgold for our fossil dig. It was a little bit humid out there, but everybody really worked hard from 9 o'clock to about 12:30, and there were some good finds. That site still producing some nice fossils, and we had a total of about 21 people, although most were from the Central Pennsylvania Rock and Mineral Club, which is also there as part of our invite. But like I said, we had several Zoom Rock Room people there working hard, and they were rewarded for their efforts with nautilus specimens, some nice brachiopods, a couple of nice specimens of trilobites. So anyway, New Ringgold is still producing, and it's still worthwhile to go to. So thank you for coming out, and I know I always advertise the peanut shop. If you ever go to Pottsville area or New Ringgold, on the way back home, stop in Port Clinton, right above Cabela's, and stop at the peanut shop in Port Clinton. It is worth it. As I tell everybody, the candy that you might remember seeing as a 10-year-old child, you'll find it at the peanut shop. Although I usually only buy fudge. So anyway, all right. So we're going to move on to our program tonight, which is going to be by me. And obviously, if you have any comments afterwards, please put them into the chat, and we will address that. I need to share. Yep. There we go. Let me get my okay. So our program tonight, and I don't know if many of you have heard of this program called the Heritage Geologic Sites of Pennsylvania. It's really a joint program with all the departments of DCNR in Pennsylvania, and of course the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey involved in this with the geological sites of Pennsylvania. So basically, it's really a small member of what's called the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program, PNHP. And there's a website. If you do a search for the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program, it will come up, sort of thing, or the Heritage Geologic Sites. You'll go through it by the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey. So the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program has basically inventoried everything in Pennsylvania: plants, animals, rocks, which is also soil, and with the plants and animals, we have the ecosystems and the community breakups are all listed in this huge database. Okay, so the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey has assigned at least and over actually 200 sites, many of which are listed in their 2-volume publication called the Outstanding Geologic Features of Pennsylvania. And if you haven't seen that online or not, so the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey has determined these sites to be belonging to the heritage sites because of one of these attributes. It has to be scenic. It can be educational or scientifically important. How much recreation is done at the site? Is it along a trail where a lot of people go, and are attracted to? The social, historical aspect of it. The sense of place means, is it valuable to people? Is it a mountaintop, along a river, whatever? Okay. Significance. Some of these sites are one of a kind in not only Pennsylvania but maybe in the country. And the conservation. Has there been a move to conserve it? Is it close to being destroyed because of urban development? So all these go into the ruling that was made by the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey. Okay, now of the ones that are important, there's many others that could have been candidates. I'm thinking of two. The one behind me in my backdrop tonight is called the Whaleback up in Schuylkill County, an abandoned coal mine that has real cool structure in, where we have anticlines, and I don't have the picture of the syncline over top of the anticline, but this is a one of a type exposure in the whole country. It's a great candidate for education scientific category. However, the problem is the landowner will not grant people permission to go onto their property. Henceforth, the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey cannot put it on the list. The one in York County, back in the about 2012, 2013, in an active quarry, there was a significantly important Cambrian Ordovician reef found while the quarry was exposing rock. They left the professors in to study it, to do whatever they needed to do to record it and study it. And the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey went to the quarry and said, "We would like to have this as a heritage site. Will you keep it in place so that others can see it?" And the quarry responded by saying, "Why are we here? We're here to take the rock out." So anyway, that site was also not listed on the heritage. So these are the two books I was referring to, Volume 1 and Part 2. It's great. Every county in Pennsylvania is represented. Most are on public lands, so you don't need to get permission to go to them. A lot of state parks are represented, for example, or state game lands, sort of things. And this is also online under the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey, if you don't have the hard copies. So what I did tonight, before I get that far, is that if you go to the website, naturalheritage.state.pennsylvania.us, you'll come to the page like this, where you can actually put geology in the box. And if you want to search by county, you may do that. Or in this setting, it's all Pennsylvania is included. It will give you the listing of all the sites. Or like I said, you can go county to county and what's being recorded in the heritage. So what I did, they actually have the 30 best sites on their website, as in the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey. So I basically turned their little slide program that they have into a PowerPoint and added a little bit more information. So the pictures that are identified as the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey are the ones that I borrowed off their website. So Presque Isle, up Erie County, north of Erie, is famous. And part of this thing with the whole program is that if you think about it, everything that's on the surface of the earth relies on the underlying rocks, soil, geology. So out of these 30 sites, the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey determined, well, how did this interact with the geology? So Presque Isle is an example of a water to shoreline environment. If you have never been there, it is called a spit, which is a formation sticking out from the mainland, oftentimes along the ocean. But it's actually a rounded shape. You see the spit develops a hook due to the changes in wind direction and sedimentation. So behind it, we get silt and mud deposited back here. So the isle is considered a spit, interaction between the water and the shoreline. So that's why it's kind of important. It's like the only one that we have in Pennsylvania out into the Great Lake. Number two, Bigler's Rock. Maybe some of you have been to this or these sites. Okay, maybe we'll take a survey at the end. It's out in Clearfield County, made up of a sandstone, and it's called Rock City. If you don't know what Rock City is bedrock exposure. It has crevices, hallways, rooms where the rock has either weathered or it has literally split apart, enabling you to walk through the rock. So they call it Rock City. I know there's one up in New York State, north of Bradford, Pennsylvania. That's also called Rock City. So this is a Pennsylvanian-aged sandstone in the geologic world. So again, it's a cool place to go if you have never been there. The Canyon Vista, World's End State Park. Maybe some of you have camped at World's End over in Sullivan County, up in Sullivan's County, I should really say. The Loyal Stock Gorge is the real name of it, and the Canyon Vista shows you the topography, which is up in the plateau region of the Appalachian Plateau. Not so much at World's End, but as you'll find out later in the program, some of this area has been glaciated over time. Place called Hyperview State Park in Clinton County. We're in the Appalachian Plateau, the Steep Valleys section. And this is a good place to insert this. Is if you haven't reviewed the Pennsylvania Physiographic Province map, which I think is map 13, put out by the state, there's been a lot of changes of classifications. Okay, so they now have a steep valley section within the Appalachian Plateau. So a beautiful spot, and it's the deep valley section is known for having deep, narrow, steep sloped valleys that are separated by narrow to broad uplands. So the sides are very steep. Waterfalls are very common. Obviously here. Pine Creek Gorge. You're going to find out there's a number of overlooks of our 30 that are found in what we call the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon in Wyoming and Tioga County. So last time we were at Pine Creek Gorge or Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, we were told that we needed to go about 2 hours north to Watkins Glen if you want to see a real canyon. So we extended our vacation a couple of days and went to Watkins Glen in the same trip. So in Pine Creek Gorge, it's 50 miles long. The canyon is up to 1,000 feet deep from the highest elevation to the bottom, and it was formed actually during the glaciated period. Pine Creek, as it was flowing northeastward, and then 20,000 years ago, the receding Connell Glacier, the Laurentide Glacier, dammed up the creek with rocks and soil and other debris. The stream was no longer able to flow northeastward, so it actually reversed its course. And there are some rock outcrops along in the gorge. This being some sandstone, of course, where Pine Creek flows right through it. Ohio Pile. Maybe some of you have gone to the extreme and went kayaking, tubing, rafting on the Youghiogheny at Ohiopyle in Fayette County, down in southwestern Pennsylvania. Pretty spectacular with all the waterfalls, and the falls are there because the horizontal beds of sedimentary rocks above the falls, the horizontal beds were eroded away where the falls are today. So there's a steeper gradient. And I know, there's also something geologically of interest about the huge meander of the river, of how that was formed there. So if you ever go to the Ohiopyle, go to the visitor center. They actually have a section of geology of the Ohiopyle and the Youghiogheny. And if you ask politely, they'll give you a geological map of the area and an article that was published by the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey on the geologic history of Ohiopyle. How about Hickory Run State Park up in Carbon County? Okay, this is recognized as a boulder field. Actually, it's the largest boulder field on the East Coast. If you have never seen Hickory Run, it is just overwhelming. It is about 400 feet wide, 1,800 feet long, and at least 12 feet deep. Somebody was having fun here building a little temple. So the size is like 13 football fields put together is the size of this boulder field that, again, formed in the glacial period, the Ice Age, and eroded and brought these rocks of quartzite down to make a boulder field. So if you're ever up in that area, it's certainly worthwhile to go to Hickory Run and take this in for a site. Archbald Pothole, okay, Lackawanna County, not too far from the Susquehanna River, which actually formed this pothole. And it is a state park today. Has a nice viewing area, which I think we have right here. Yep. And the way it was discovered was there was coal mining taking place on the property in 1884. Coal miners dug out the gravel that actually filled the pothole. The pothole is 38 feet deep, although it's elliptical in shape. It's about 42 feet wide and 24 feet long, or vice versa. So very, very impressive pothole. Shows you the energy of the Susquehanna River etching out this pothole in sedimentary rock. Delaware Water Gap in Monroe, County, Pennsylvania, over near New Jersey. And of course, this is a great vacation area for a lot of out-of-staters to come in and spend a week or so at the Water Gap, doing a lot of activities that are there. Silurian age conglomerates and sandstones make up the higher elevations, with the river passing through, meandering through, cutting through. So again, that's on the list of our 30. How many of you have been to Hawk Mountain up in Berks County? It's a great bird watching site, particularly for the fall migration of the raptors. They actually do counts up there, and I believe it's actually posted on the internet how many different birds they see each day during the October through early December period. But from the top of Hawk Mountain, you're actually looking at the Ridge and Valley provinces of the Blue Ridge section, and of course the Appalachian, the Great Valley section. From the top, quartzite again, same as what actually makes up the Delaware Water Gap. So you can appreciate the mountainous view. And they do have a few other geologic sites on the property. They have their own little boulder field and several other geologic features that you can see as you walk about the mile up to the top of the mountain. But quite worth your efforts to get to the top for this view. And like I said, if you're a birder, you'll be joined by a lot of friends in the fall. Boiling Springs. That's getting a little closer to where I'm at in York County. And this is in Cumberland County. And why do they call it Boiling Springs? Well, it's because it is the largest natural spring in Pennsylvania. Every minute, between 13,500 and 20,600 gallons per minute come out of the earth. Depends on the season. You know, the dry season, the yield is down. Obviously, wintertime, springtime, when the snow melt's taking place off the very close by South Mountain, the water yields are up. It's really situated in the Great Valley section of the Ridge and Valley Province, underlain by the limestone, which is, of course, as you know, because you've been around this room, is a soft rock. But what makes the spring is that there's two diabase dikes. I did not draw a geological map for you, but there's basically one dike coming in on the right toward the barn, and another one coming in on the left side. They actually come together as a V, very close to where the bridge back there is, and they're acting as a dam. Diabase is a non-permeability rock. It acts as a dam, so the water dams up from the and bubbles up from all these springs in the lake. So there's a good trivia question for you. Largest natural spring in Pennsylvania is Boiling Springs in Cumberland County, which is actually a town. All right, how about Devil's Den? Everybody likes Devil's Den. Everybody's probably been to Devil's Den. It's one of the most visited Civil War sites in the whole country. Recognizable by the diabase, which is igneous rock that formed inside the earth. We call that intrusive. And it's actually Jurassic in age. If you know remember the geologic history, North America and Africa were rifted apart, and North American plate was injured. Magma came up through the cracks to reheal Mother Earth back together, and it formed diabase. In this case, probably 3 to 4 miles below the surface is where this rock actually solidified. So there's even a rock there they made for geologists to relax. This was the day 2 of the 3-day Battle of Gettysburg. The Confederates were in Devil's Den, trying to figure out how to take Little Round Top, which was under control, of course, by the Union. So really fierce fighting took place here, and you know, we do a geological walk through Devil's Den for school groups when they come into the Gettysburg battlefield to do a day of education. I'm called by the educator at Gettysburg and say, "Can you come up next Tuesday and do 2 walks?" So anyway, the Grand View at Ricketts Glen State Park in Luzerne, Sullivan County, and also Columbia County. I don't want to leave them out. Ricketts Glen is actually a very large park, and everybody goes to Ricketts Glen to really see the waterfall series along the trail. But from here, you're able to see you're actually on the Ridge and Valley in the Appalachian Mountain section, and you're looking down on what's called the Appalachian Plateau. Okay, which is so Ricketts Glen is right on the border between the plateau area of Pennsylvania and the Ridge and Valley. And as the water falls off the plateau into the ridge and valley rocks, that's why we have all the waterfalls. So the highest elevation at Ricketts Glen is 2,449 feet above sea level. And like I mentioned, these waterfalls are basically dropping down because the plateau is higher than the ridge and valley. It's just like the fall zone out where the Piedmont falls into the coastal plain around Baltimore and Washington. So there's about, I forget how many waterfalls are at Ricketts Glen. Trail that goes up past all of them. It actually is pretty treacherous, particularly when it's wet. And there have been accidents there. And actually the state park will close down the trail when it is icy and just dangerous. Barber Rock over in we're back to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon again. So Barber Rock is another beautiful overlook. Again, in the deep valley section, steep sides, valleys that are separated by, remember, the narrow to broad ridges. Harrison Overlook is another one. This one does have a nice deck built. You can actually appreciate the depth of the Grand Canyon. If you've never been to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, my disappointing impression was I think I was picturing the Grand Canyon in Arizona and matching it with this, where you have no vegetation in Arizona. That's not, of course, not the case. So you don't get to see bare-walled, rocky cliffs at the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. But it's still really cool. And if you are a hiker or biker, you can ride or walk in the bottom of the gorge along the Pine Creek Trail. And Colton Point. Another one. Here's actually the trail that you may hike or ride a bike on, and enjoy the Pine Creek flowing. And again, just appreciate the depth. Not to forget the Poconos. How about the big Pocono Overlook in Monroe County? Again, this is also located in the deep valley. Actually, it's on the border of the plateau, and the highest point in the Poconos is Camelback, which is where this overlook is located, 2,100 feet plus. It's located on the edge of the glaciated Pocono Plateau. This is one of the ones that has been covered with glaciers in the last 175,000 years. So you're looking at, if you remember when Brittany does her glacial talk, he'll talk about teal and moraines and eskers. All that pretty much is on the surface when you're in much of the Pocono area. Chimney Rocks, Blair County. Okay, this is actually overlooking, again, part of you're in the Ridge and Valley province, the Appalachian Mountains section. And these are Devonian and Silurian aged limestones, actually. Limestones making up the higher points in this area. So again, you can appreciate the topography of the Appalachian Mountains, Ridge and Valley. That's why it's called the Ridge and Valley Province. How about the Chinese Wall, Lebanon County? Very, very close to the Schuylkill County border. And this has a nickname of the boxcars, because from a distance it looks like a series of boxcars. The rock wall is about 500 feet long. It's the rock called conglomerate, which I think I have right here. So it's the Pottsville conglomerate, which means it has rounded quartz pebbles It is Pennsylvanian in age, just a little bit older than our famous coal beds. And if you want to find Chinese wall, it actually is on Pennsylvania Game Land number 211. There's now a pretty brand new parking lot, very close to the wall. You can see what they mean by box cars. Last time that Roxanne and I were here, it was a little bit secluded, and there were some mischievous activities taking place, put it that way, going on. And I think with the parking lot closer to the site, that's probably deterred from the teenagers doing what they were doing. White Rocks in Cumberland County. This is quartzite. And if you're at White Rocks, you will actually see either rounded tube lakes, or if you see it from a cross-sectional view, you'll see tubes of the scolithus worm tube that we've talked about before. The Antietam Formation does have scolithus in it. White Rocks is also very close to the northern end of the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is actually on the South Mountain section of the Valley and Ridge Province. So White Rocks, there actually is a development called White Rocks, very close to this outcrop. It's also very close to the Appalachian Trail coming through. Kitchen Creek Gorge, Ricketts Glen again. Okay, part of the huge Ricketts Glen State Park, and the Kitchen Creek, as they call it, having one of the nice waterfalls in the gorge. And you'll notice that the rocks are horizontal, meaning that you're on the plateau. When you start to see the rocks that are contorted or they're standing vertical, you've just moved into the Ridge and Valley province. The plateau rocks have not been disturbed much through tectonic events. The famous Lewistown Narrows. Anybody that goes to Penn State football games, you might go through the Lewistown Narrows in Mifflin County, south of Lewistown, and you'll see a lot. If you look up on the ridges, you'll see a lot of weathering taking place where the rocks have been broken down. Not quite a boulder field because there hasn't been much movement here, but you'll see a lot of scarring on the hillside. But also, if you pay attention to the road cuts, you will see there's some pretty dramatic folding in the rock. There's faults along the way, sort of thing. So I know, the area that they had redone just north of Lewistown, of course out of the Narrows, but the limestone just north of Lewistown has some dramatic folding. It has a lot of white calcite veins in, called gashing, where the rock has been broken and then rehealed by the calcite. So as you drive up, and even before you get to the Lewistown Narrows along 322, look at those rock outcrops along the road, because you'll find anticlines and synclines, and you'll pick up some faulting. Little story here is that when Louie and I got married, of course driving along, I always look at the road cuts. She first yelled at me for doing that, taking my eye off the road and looking at the road cuts, but then she started to do it then too. So Lehigh Gorge. You have gone to Jim Thorpe area in Luzerne and Carbon counties. Lehigh Gorge, a great, again, tubing, rafting, kayaking river section. A lot, some nice rapids. There's not really any tremendous waterfalls to worry about, but this is a 30 miles in length along the Delaware River, and it's in the anthracite upland section of the Ridge and Valley. This is one of these newer sections assigned to the ridge and valley. And of course, you can see that the qualification of recreation taking place right here. This time of year, a lot of rafting and water activities going on, along with the biking, the trail that runs almost the whole length, actually, of the gorge. Susquehanna water gaps. We have talked about this before in one or two other programs. Susquehanna River showing obvious signs of cutting through ridges, which is something that water does not want to do. As I have preached to you before, water does not want to work for a living. But here's pretty good proof that the water did cut through the ridges along that were across the river. There used to be a theory called peneplation theory, where to explain that the elevation of the ridges all at the same height, that this was the height of the Susquehanna at one time, and working down. That theory is not really much valid anymore. And let me show you this map here, because this is kind of neat. Is that satellite photograph of the Susquehanna. Harrisburg is right in here. As you go up 11 to 15 on the left side, or 322 on the right side, you pass through these ridges, which are all cut by the Susquehanna River. And matter of fact, if you look at this really closely, you have Blue Ridge, Tuscarora Mountain is a single ridge going through, but then the next ridge you go through, look what happens to it. It comes through the mountain, it goes across the river, bends back, and actually kind of disappears in here, but it does come out here, goes back across the river again, the same ridge. And up near Sillings Grove, it doesn't quite get to the river. So as you drive north, you're basically going through Blue Mountain first, and then this is all the same ridge that you pass through as you drive up 11 and 15. So that's kind of neat. But a lot of work there by the Susquehanna River. It's just not within the Appalachians. When you get down into southeastern Pennsylvania, down here, it's also cutting through ridges. Anybody from southeastern Pennsylvania, right here is where Chickies Rock is located. But you notice that through a lot of the ridges, the river does a dramatic turn, going east, and it drops south. And even up here through the big mountain, it does some turns, maybe suggesting that there's some fractures in the earth that are oriented the same direction, that influenced that to happen. Balanced Rock in Huntington County in Trough Creek State Park. This is actually a piece of sandstone quartzite that is balanced meticulously on the edge of another rock, and it certainly, of course, has not slid down yet. So it's called Balanced Rock. Many of the counties in Pennsylvania actually have their own balanced rock of some sort. So anyway, this is the most famous one. Slippery Rock Creek Gorge, found up there in Butler County. Again, it has some nice rock overlooks. Again, in the steep valley section, and provide some nice again landscape pictures. Of course, the stream 12 miles long. It kind of is weird because the deepest part of the creek is actually in the middle of it, as far as north to south. So not sure exactly what happened there. It may have been glaciated influenced, but it does have a steep gradient for streams. So again, it could be a nice tubing, kayaking uh, location. Devil's Racecourse up in Dauphin County. It's pretty hard to get to. It's actually not too far from the Indiantown Gap military base, but to get to it, you need to turn off a road on 322 and go back into a country road and park and walk about 4 miles one way to get to this Devil's Racecourse. Boulders again of conglomerate sandstone that have been eroded, weathered, and then transported downslope by water. Again, there's several Devil's Racecourses in central Pennsylvania and southeast Pennsylvania. I'm thinking of two. There's actually two in Franklin County, identically called Devil's Racecourse. So anyway, this takes a pretty good hike to get back to it, but it's not quite as big as Hickory Run Park, but it's rather nice to see. Lambs Hill Overlook in Bradford County. Okay, this is on the glaciated high section, and you're looking into what they call the glaciated low section of the Appalachian Plateau. We're standing at 2,320 feet here. Again, just looking at the topography, makes it on the top 30 list for the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey. Glen Onoco is Carbon County. A nice waterfall.
Here's what I found.
A nice waterfall area where you can actually get behind it. Mississippian aged, it's called the Pocono Formation. Again, a lot of sandstone you're seeing exposed here. But just a small member of the Lehigh Gorge that we talked about just a few minutes ago. And we can't forget, and I'm glad this is on the list because this is a great place, Pole Steeple in Cumberland County within the South Mountain section of the Ridge and Valley. Beautiful outcrop of quartzite. There's actually 2 columns of it here. You would actually park at a place called yeah, I just lost the name. The lake down here, I'll get it then. Laurel Lake. You park at Laurel Lake and walk up the trail about 3/4 of a mile. And you can climb up to Pole Steeple and see this kind of view of South Mountain section. On the other side of the mountain, and you can't see it in this picture, is the Great Valley, where Chambersburg is, Shippensburg, Interstate 81. But a beautiful view, and of course a lot of neat geology that you can see. Many years ago, I had my class at your college. I took up there on a field trip. In my class was a airline pilot, and when he stood on top of the rock there for a group picture, he got a little wobbly. He said he gets dizzy standing on things like that. Yeah, he flies airplanes. It doesn't disturb him. So I found that kind of maybe amusing. Along your walk up and down from the parking lot at Laurel Lake, you can, if you're really observant, you'll walk past 2 charcoal terraces where they made charcoal for Pine Grove Furnace, which is right down the road about 2 miles or so. So actually South Mountain, as we've talked about also before, full of charcoal terraces from the Pine Grove Furnace and the other furnaces that they had in South Mountain. So that's your top 30 as voted by the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey. Some of those, as I said, maybe some of you have visited one or two of those. I'm just reading the comments that you have here. Uh, I wonder if I had my ears ringing while we were exploring Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Uh, I forget, that's too long ago. You can always take me along, and I could be an on-site geologist, uh, give it to you firsthand, sort of thing. Yeah, Pine Grove State Park is where actually Pole Steeple is. That's within the Michaux State Forest. I don't think it's within Pine Grove. Thank you for the great tour. I appreciate that. How many have I visited? Probably I'd probably say about 8 of those sites. Ohio Pile was only in the. We were there in October of last year, so Ohio Pile was one of my new ones. Mike said he thinks he has 9. That's good. Yep. Steven says the falls at Ohio Pile are receding at a rate of about 1.3 centimeters per year. I know Steven knows about that area. He helped with the Pennsylvania Field Conference field trip last October to Ohio Pile in that area. I was never there before. So okay. Oh, my picture is flipped. Prescott, Ohio. I took it off the Pennsylvania Geologic Survey site. Thanks, Mike. I'll change that around because I plan to do this for a PowerPoint shows to the civic organizations that we go out to. If you go to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, stay at Penn Wells Historic Hotel in Wellsboro. Food is good and setting is cool. Okay. So appreciate the comments and nice information there, everybody. Okay. Oh, yeah. Paul corrected me. I had hyper. It's higher view. See, I know they're the hyper in racing. That's why it came to hyper, not the other one. Hey Andrew, thanks for saying that the peanut shop rocks. It does. It did a nice job. All right. Again, if you're kind of new to the Zoom Rock Room, this video will get processed in the next hour, an hour and a half, and it will go onto the brand new Jones Geo website. If you haven't seen it yet, go to jonesgeo.com. Check out the new layout that our webmaster created, and it's really cool. And as soon as I upload it to YouTube, it will be on the website, and you can always view and tell your friends about it. So if you're going to be off on vacation before we see you next time, be safe, and if you're flying, I might suggest you take along your own wings. Yeah, you might get there faster these days. So, final joke for you. Because you're a nice group, I'll pass it on to you. Pulled a nose hair out today to see if it hurt. Judging by the screams of the guy asleep on the bus next to me, yes, it did hurt. So, all right. We'll be back in August. We're not sure what our program's going to be yet. But once we get those 2 dates inserted, the other two will fall into place. And I have an idea for another one. And of course, if anybody out there has an idea for a program, or if you want to do a program about maybe a vacation that you did, uh, we'll put you in here. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you down the road sometime here again. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jerry. See you next time.
Okay, Steve, we'll see you. Have a good trip.
Yep, thank you.
Yep,
Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
I'm going to try.